So what is going on, guys? I'm Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video on the channel where what I wanted to do today was take a look at both versions of Treyarch's open world zombies in quotation marks, compare the two, their first iteration, their first attempt in Black Ops Cold War Outbreak, and their latest attempt in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. Because even though there are big differences between both of them, ultimately Modern Warfare 3 was Treyarch's next step in their open world zombies. They experimented with this idea in Outbreak, and then took a bunch of what they learned with it and implemented that into Modern Warfare 3. But the question is, did it make it better? What are the main differences between MW3 Zombies open world and Outbreak's semi-open world? And is one better than the other? Which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you prefer Modern Warfare 3 Zombies or Outbreak? Because even though these two modes are close to each other in terms of how they work, especially compared to round-based zombies or any other mode that we've had, there are still big differences between each one of them. So let's go ahead and take a look at Outbreak, let's take a look at Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, and see what Treyarch did and didn't improve on, what they learned and what they didn't. So there are many things that are different between the two modes and also many things that are the same. I would say the main difference being Modern Warfare 3 Zombies takes place on one giant open world map, whereas Outbreak takes place on multiple big maps. MW3 Zombies reuses the Warzone map, Outbreak reuses 8 Fireteam maps, which was essentially supposed to be similar to Warzone. All of these maps in Cold War were going to be put together to make a Warzone map, but that was scrapped. So in that sense they are the same. The main difference being though, Outbreak is broken down into 8 sections. We have Alpine, Duga, Galova, Rucker, Sanatorium, Zoo, Collateral, and Armada. When we first all heard of Outbreak and the leaks and rumours told us that we were going to be getting an open world zombies, when you hear those words you expect one giant open world map, not smaller bigger maps that you can teleport to. So traditionally Modern Warfare 3 Zombies suits that title better, and I also think it works better as well. Having one big map where you can just walk or drive to any area that you want to, compared to 8 smaller maps in quotation marks because they're still quite big, that you can access by teleporting to one another, for me is a lot more entertaining. And because of how the rounds work in Outbreak, or as it's called in this game mode, waves, you have to complete missions in your location in order to teleport to the next. Each location that you teleport to is random, and that goes for the map that you spawn in on as well. Whereas in MW3 Zombies, yes, you can spawn on different sides of the map, but it's still the same map, you never leave it. Because of how Outbreak worked, there were specific locations, for me, Armada or Duga, that I didn't particularly like playing in. Whether it be just because the areas were very flat and spread out, points of interest were far in between one another. For whatever reason, some of the Outbreak maps were a lot more fun to play in than the rest. And so not having the choice of choosing which location you wanted to go to and then having to complete a mission in that area to travel to the next place, eventually after you'd played the game a few times, became a little bit boring and frustrating. And then having to cycle through all of the maps in order to get back to the one you wanted. Yeah, personally it just didn't suit my playstyle. I know a lot of people did like it, but ultimately I think the idea of having one giant map instead of one giant map split into multiple sections just works better, and that doesn't only go for zombies. Multiplayer, if you imagine Warzone working like Outbreak, well, it wouldn't work. How does the Modern Warfare 3 Zombies map compare to any of the Outbreak maps? I think overall the MW3 Zombies map is better than any of the Outbreak maps. You could say Outbreak has a lot more variety. For example, Alpine is a snowy area, Galova takes place in autumn, Sanatorium is a night map, Armada is a water map. So there's a lot more variety in terms of your playstyle. Sometimes you're forced to swim, sometimes you end up parachuting from mountains down to the bottom. If you want variety in playstyle, perhaps Outbreak works better. But as just zombies maps, it has to go to MW3. And this was one of the reasons why I wasn't a fan of Outbreak. This system of having multiple maps contributed to slowing the mode down, which co-aligns with missions. In order to progress from one map to the next, you would have to complete a main mission. Now both Modern Warfare 3 and Outbreak have these. In fact, Modern Warfare 3 copies a lot of Outbreak's missions. You can definitely tell Treyarch took some of what worked in Outbreak and implemented it in MW3, and one of them was this, because some of the missions are essentially the same, such as escort or eliminate, but MW3 Zombies does also introduce some new missions. What's different between the two though is you had to complete missions on Outbreak to go to the next map, otherwise if you didn't do them, it was bare, there was nothing to do. You can still carry on killing zombies, but there's really nothing to work towards. Whereas in MW3, I would say missions aren't integral, but they're a good way to get money. I found the majority of missions in Outbreak to just be tedious. Again, a lot of this was to do with how the map rotation worked. Because there were only 8 maps and there was only 7 main missions, and you have to complete missions to continue, that means after you've got to the 7th map, more than likely you're going to start to repeat the same missions over and over again. And you can see then the whole thing starts to become repetitive. You're doing the same missions and then teleporting back to the same maps. In MW3, it feels more like a choice, and also because it was more open world, the missions don't feel as repetitive either. In Outbreak, you're forced to do that specific mission on that map, whereas in MW3, there's a giant open world, tens of missions to choose from, you have much more of a choice. So again, you can kind of praise Outbreak for igniting what we have in MW3, and MW3 does it better. The map works better and the missions work better as well. But another big difference between the two was how the rounds work. Now, neither game modes have traditional rounds. Outbreak had waves and Modern Warfare 3 has zones. You have the grey zone, the yellow zone and the red zone. The grey zone being the easiest, yellow a challenge but not difficult, and red very hard. I haven't actually played MW3 Zombies in a few weeks, but I'm pretty sure they added the Dark Ether tier as well. I'm not 100% sure how that works, because I just haven't been as interested in playing it. But for the base game in terms of difficulty, you have 3 different zones, and in Outbreak, you had waves. So you start off on wave 1, and then as you teleport to each new map after completing a mission, each new teleportation counts as a new wave. It is kind of similar to rounds, but not really, whereas with traditional rounds, they would change depending on the amount of zombies you kill, whereas on this you can kill as many zombies in a location. The wave won't change until you teleport to the next map. So which tier of difficulty is better? And for me, it's again Modern Warfare 3's. It's not necessarily having the choice off the get-go to go to zone 1, 2 or 3 to immediately go to the most difficult level of zombies, but because it takes so long to go up in rounds or waves in Outbreak, by the time I get to a relatively difficult level, I feel like I've been playing the game for an hour already or more. 2 hours. Whereas with MW3, I can go to a difficult level in, well, you can go there straight away. You ideally want all of your weapons and equipment upgraded first, but half an hour, I would say, realistically. The playtime to get a challenge in Outbreak it's just too long. It's dragged out and it kind of follows the same theming all throughout. And you can tell that because Modern Warfare 3 has a time limit. Now, a lot of people hated this when it came in, or actually questioned why it was there. Why do we have a 1 hour playtime? But when you see stuff like this, you can kind of understand it, especially compared to round-based where it would make no sense. But here, or with Outbreak, when you play for more than an hour, things kind of start to break down. But I still think if I was given the option, I'd take the time limit away from Modern Warfare 3 because I do find the gameplay a lot more fun than Outbreak. Similar to what I've just said, by the time I've upgraded everything and make my way to the yellow tier, very rarely the red tier, it's just too difficult, and actually just want to relax and kill zombies, you're then really left with no time to do that because you've either got to exfil or risk losing everything. So you do feel rushed, which leads to faster gameplay, and on the opposite end of the scale, you have Outbreak, which is extremely slow. Yes, there's no time limit. You can play for hours if you want, but it leads to a slower experience. I would say in MW3, the grey zone, zone 1 is very slow. The yellow area is probably the tier you're going to be playing in the most, which provides a decent challenge. Red's impossible. Whereas on Outbreak, there are areas in each and every map on whatever wave you're on, which are going to be slow no matter what. You're not going to find a slow area to just stand still in the red zone on Modern Warfare 3. In the yellow zone, it's possible, whereas on Outbreak, you can walk around for a couple of minutes and really find no zombies. You might get 2 or 3, but unless you're on those high waves, which takes a long time to get to, the gameplay is just too slow, especially when you're coming from round-based zombies, which is fast-paced. The gameplay flow of Modern Warfare 3 is a lot closer to that. So overall, MW3 Zombies gameplay is just a lot better overall. But of course, that isn't the only aspect of zombies. There's also Easter eggs, storyline that comes into it. Easter eggs can make or break a zombies map, or in this case, open world maps, kind of. Both MW3 and Outbreak have main Easter eggs, but they do work very differently. In MW3 Zombies, we have story missions where you complete acts. If you don't know what these are, these entail doing a mission every single time you load into the game. I think it's about 15 to 20 missions. Again, I haven't played in a few weeks, but when you come to the end of each act, you then get to complete a main, okay, it's not really a traditional Easter egg, more of a short linear story, where at the end you get a cutscene. And on Outbreak, we had a couple of main Easter eggs. I think it's really down to preference which one of these you prefer. I would say Outbreak's main Easter egg is more like traditional zombies, whereas MW3's is more like a campaign. To be honest though, being a traditional zombies player, I, again, prefer MW3's system. It actually gives you something to do in game. Main Easter eggs are usually a one-time and done thing, which is still the case here, but because you have to complete several acts before you get to the main goal, it's more like a 15 to 20 time and done thing. It's a lot more spread out, which can mean it takes longer than a traditional Easter egg, but from a gameplay point of view, For this mode specifically, I don't think it would work and I wouldn't want to see it in traditional realm-based, but it's fine here. Whether or not the story itself is actually more entertaining is questionable. I kind of preferred what they told us in Outbreak. I'm not as interested in the storyline that's being told in MW3 Zombies, but from a gameplay point of view and replayability, Modern Warfare 3's Easter egg is a lot better. So that covers the basics of what makes a Zombies mode, the gameplay, the maps, the storyline, the Easter egg. But there is one final thing that I think MW3 Zombies does a lot better than Outbreak, and that's the customization. Now this might be a little bit harsh because Outbreak is essentially an extension of what Cold War Zombies is, so what we saw in that game mode in regular round based from a customization point of view was just replicated in Outbreak, whereas MW3 Zombies, the customization here is a lot more unique to it because it's the only Zombies mode. So that's not necessarily Outbreak's fault, but if you're just comparing one open world Zombies to another thing that makes MW3 Zombies open world better is the amount of features and customization, whether it be ether tools, ether crystals, weapons, different rarities, the fact that they matter, schematics, all of which goes back to the gameplay as well, making that more interesting. Overall, taking everything into consideration, I have to say Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is a vast improvement on Outbreak. That doesn't mean Outbreak was terrible. I don't think it was great, but for Treyarch's first attempt of a semi-open world, it was just okay. But if Treyarch decided to label MW3 as Outbreak 2.0, well, it would definitely deserve that title, because in almost every aspect, besides from maybe the storytelling, it's an improvement. I think they experimented with Outbreak, took the features that worked, and implemented and improved upon them in MW3 Zombies. But it's also important to remember that they're not exactly the same modes either. They are still unique to their own. They're not supposed to be exactly the same. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.